You've heard me talk about Mike Lindell, who I adore. You know, he's the inventor of My Pillow, and how that pillow has given me a good night's sleep that I need. In fact, I never knew how good I could sleep before I had My Pillow. Mike continues to roll out new offers on his products, and the latest one is on his towel sets. Towels aren't something you think about often. I never knew what I was missing until I tried the towels just last year. Now, you have all helped build My Pillow into the incredible company that it is today, and you've trusted Mike Lindell to give you a great night's sleep. Mike's now changing the game with his 6-piece towel set. The set's made with USA cotton, making it extremely absorbent, and yet still providing that soft feel you look for in a towel. The set comes with 2 bath, 2 hand towels, and 2 washcloths, typically retailing for $109.99. But for a limited time, you can get this set for the low price of $39.99. And that's using promo code Sam Sorbo. So remember, all My Pillow products come with a 60-day money-back guarantee. You just go to mypillow.com, click on the radio listener specials to get this insanely low price of $39.99 on the towel set. You'll find deep discounts on other My Pillow products as well. So enter promo code Sam Sorbo, or you can call 800-625-5983. That's 800-625-5983 for these great radio specials. We've discovered, my husband and I, a great American company that supports our traditional values and also the work we're doing to rescue our culture from the lies of the left. So I want you to go check it out. It's called NutraMedics.com, NutraMedics.com. And you can find there great health and wellness products that are derived from the rainforests. I've found that they work incredibly for me. I take their melatonin. I get a much better night's sleep with that. I also take their Relax Medics and their Mood Medics, which are, I don't know what they are, but they're this natural blend of herbs basically, and really easy to take. They actually droppers, and I just love their products, and I love what they stand for because they have a heart for this nation and they have a heart for people. And I don't know how you would have one without the other, and that's why maybe they have both. But I just love what they do. So go to NutraMedics.com, and you can actually go to sorbo.nutramedics, and that's with an X, sorbo.nutramedics.com. If you use Sorbo at checkout, you'll get a discount on anything that you purchase there. So go check it out, get a better night's sleep, get a better day, feel better about yourself. They've got a lot of great products there, including vitamins. I use them all. So trust me, it's great. NutraMedics.com. And thank you so much for listening. Hi there, Sam Sorbo here. I'm so glad that you joined me. And by the way, don't forget to go and join me over at Underground Education. You can access it just by going to samsorbo.com. Okay. I had somebody say to me the other day that they remembered all of the TV commercial slogans. Do you remember that when you were a kid, memorizing all the TV commercials? I know I did. My Baloney has a first name. It's OSCAR. My Baloney has a second name. It's MAYER. Okay. So I used to memorize TV slogans, and this guy also did. He actually said to me, because he was serving coffee, and it was at church. So anyway, he was serving coffee, and he said, "You can have it your way." Do you remember where that's from? And he's an older guy. And I said, Burger King. And he said, no, it was McDonald's. And then he sang the jingle, and the jingle prompted him to remember that it actually was Burger King. So I said, well, I got it right, but I couldn't sing the jingle. So your memory's even better than mine. But the point is, he then followed up and said, well, at least, what did he say? He said, he didn't remember anything important from school, but he did remember the jingles from the TV commercials. And I was thinking about that, and I was, kind of fulminating on that a little bit, because if he didn't remember any of the important things, were they really important? Or did he not remember the things that were deemed to be important by the people in the schools? And I think this is a really big distinction that we miss out on, because we've been trained to believe the educators. We've been trained to go along basically with whatever they say. And I said to him, maybe the stuff that they told you was important wasn't that important, because you still don't remember, right? If clearly you're doing okay, you just don't remember stuff that they told you was important to remember. So maybe we should take a step back and wonder about why they told us certain things were important when they were wrong, or if we should just think that they're not important in the first place. You see what I'm saying? Like, if you don't miss having that knowledge that they told you was important that you should have, why are you trusting them to tell your children what's important for them to know? Especially these days, when so much of what they're teaching in schools is not important, is clearly the opposite, in a sense, of importance. And then, to take it onto a different tangent, the fact that we still operate at a disadvantage because we know we are not behaving according to the expectations of the quote unquote educators. I think that that's an important thing that we ought to be thinking about. So this gentleman said that he didn't remember important things, the important stuff he didn't remember. And so he's still under the misapprehension that they knew what they were doing, and somehow he didn't succeed, right? So he carries this with him, that in the eyes of the important people, the self-appointed important people, or the system appointed important people, that he was a failure. And he carries this failure mentality throughout life, even when he's serving in church, in a volunteer capacity. He still carries that sense of failure with him. This is one of the things that I try to instruct on, is that we've all been injured by the schools in one way or another. And sometimes it's that foundational, this idea that he feels like a failure because he didn't step up to he didn't achieve the mark that they set before him. They said, if you get A, B, and C, that's what you need to get: A, B, and C, right? You need to hit these marks, or these levels. This is the important thing. We're telling you, this is where you need to aim. And he didn't hit that target. And so even though he's successful, because he didn't hit the target that they gave him to hit, he still feels like a failure. And I'm not saying like the guy's moping around feeling like a failure, but his language implies that he does have that failure mentality, that disappointment mentality. And yes, he was joking about it, but you know what? There's truth in every joke, right? So, when people say, it's terrifying what they're doing in the schools. I was at a function the other day, and we were talking about what was happening in the schools. And one of the gals said, yes, it's terrifying. And I said, let's be careful with our language. Rather than say it's terrifying, which frankly, are we terrified? Well, I suppose, if you drill down, I'm a little bit concerned for the future of the nation, but terrified. It's not like I'm screaming my head off and, running. So it's certainly not terrifying in that sense. It's not that it's not terrifying. It's that that's really the wrong word choice for the moment. I think we can do better with our choices. And I think that our choices sort of belie more or a different mentality than the one that we should be adopting. So rather than being terrified, it's unconscionable. It's tremendously objectionable, and I'm going to do something about it. And so I was speaking at this event, and somebody said, in answer, they said, well, I don't know. And I said, okay, let's think about this for just a minute. What if we just banished the words I don't know from our vocabulary? I think that those are words that we learn in a sense. We learn them everywhere, but they're cemented in school in a sense, and they're useless. They're worse than useless. The words I don't know are the steel barrier that flips up to prevent a car from entering. They are that. I'd love for you to think of that when you're about to say the words I don't know, is that you're erecting a barrier. Because I don't know implies I can't know, which is absurd. That's absurd. Like, okay, certainly there are some things that you cannot know, but to just simply give up all hope, right? That's what that is. It's just a capitulation. And I encourage them to say, if they ever said, I don't know, to just quickly follow it up with a yet. I don't know yet. Our words are important. Our words are important, and they actually dictate to us our attitude. So if you're not careful with your words, you will be moving your attitude in a certain direction. You're either going to be cementing your attitude or reaffirming it, or you're actually going to be making, you can actually make it worse. But on the flip side, the good news is that your words actually can affect your attitude positively. And if you positively affect your attitude, you will positively affect your outcomes. So if instead of saying, I don't know, or even I don't know yet, you say, I'm going to have to find out, you'll improve your chances of finding out by 50%, maybe more. I need to find out. How are we going to solve this problem? I need to figure out how we're going to solve this problem. My goodness, that's like an open-ended invitation for people to say, well, have you considered this? Or for you to say, I never thought about doing this before. And we have a big nut to solve with what's happening in our education system today. So I was just at another meeting. I'm doing a ton of meetings and outreach on behalf of underground education, because what we're facing right now, I believe, is another 1772. Maybe not. Maybe close to 1772. I don't know. I'm not quite sure of like the whole timeline. But I will say this. When John Adams wrote to Thomas Jefferson and he said, what is this American Revolution? And I don't mean the war. So when I ask you what was the American Revolution, but I take the war out of your arsenal of responses, what was it? Because it wasn't the war. The American Revolution happened before the war. The war was the enactment of the principles of the American Revolution. The revolution actually happened in the minds of Americans. And it was seminal. It was foundational. It was a new idea that ran like wildfire through the population. Well, maybe not like wildfire, slowly but surely. It was an infection of a new idea of man that had never before been seen. And the idea was that men are created equal, meaning that they are created of a species, and within that species they are all of equal stature within that species. So dogs are a different species, not of the same stature. Horses are a different species, not of the same stature. But everyone created human is of that human species. And because they have the same stature, and because that comes with, in a sense, a cognition, a soul, if you will, a working brain, that they cannot be owned by another of the same species, that they have a right that is inherent in them to themselves. In other words, to private property that they have, which begins certainly at their skin, right? So it's interior at least, and then it extends to ownership of things. So, but within themselves, it's life and liberty, and then their own ability to pursue the thing that interests them, as long as it doesn't infringe on other members of the species, on the rights of others, right? This was revolutionary, because from that idea, they took away, wait a minute, so we can't be governed, you can't be governed by someone else of the same species, because they don't have some inherent right to own you or control you. So if they're governing you, it's only by your consent, it's by your agreement. This was a new idea. And so at that point, when they had sort of formulated this idea, they codified it in this declaration, which they labored over. And we'll get into, I can talk about the slavery aspect in another video, but they labored over this declaration as a way of declaring autonomy from a tyrannical government, King George III. And it did stem from this idea that he was levying taxes, but also that he was giving away, they consented to his governing, but not to the parliament, because the parliament was representative of the people in England, and they were not in England. So part of this idea was inherited. They inherited it simply by virtue of coming from England, many of them, right? And part of it was this new idea that, wait a minute, we could break free of that, because he doesn't actually have our consent, because he's given it away. He squandered it by giving it to Parliament. So we're going to leave it there for right now, but I will be back to talk more about this and the slavery idea, and how that sort of pairs up. And I encourage you, go to samsorbo.com. Please subscribe to my videos. That's always very helpful. Go to samsorbo.com and sign up for Underground Education and join the community there and the conversation there. And we're going to drill down and get to the bottom of this, because there's another revolution that's coming, and I want you to be part of it. And I certainly want you on the right side. So, so join me again. This is Sam Sorbo for the Sam Sorbo Show.